Thank you for pointing that out. Mic was off. But, had some thunderstorm activity earlier that came through and knocked power out, so I had to boot everything back up again. Yeah, it's trying its best. I mean, there's still some really good thunderstorm activity coming out of it. No sound still. It looks like I got sound going. Still can't hear me. It says I'm... There we go. I was going to say. Oh, wow. So there were other people who saw power go out earlier. You could see it, too. As you rolled throughout the day, it got really bad. Nice area of South and Central Florida getting hit by some pretty potent thunderstorms. But yeah, I mean, it's trying. You can see right around the center of, well, not the center, but the heart of it, there's some really good, cool cloud tops with it. Willow, hold on a second. Maybe if I pull the mic in a little bit closer. Like I said, everything earlier got cooked. I lost all of my saved settings, so that's probably what we're trying to recover from right now. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. I feel like I could get some flack for putting out the video that I did because nobody's talking about it. No one is still really talking about it, at least from what I've seen here and there looking on social media and YouTube. Everyone's still just been calling this disorganized thunderstorms. My street is flooding in Orlando, Florida. Wow, I would hope not. But yeah, how's everybody doing? Welcome in. We're not going to spend too much time talking about this because, I mean, we kind of went over it earlier. And not a whole lot has changed. The biggest thing that I wanted to look for from earlier in comparison to now is if those thunderstorms are going to hold intensity. And it looks like some of them did. It's still out there trying to do its thing. So it's not like it popped off earlier and then completely faded with the loss of daytime heating and with the sun having gone down. So that's one thing. Super Charas, yeah, I'm good. It's just been a long day, very tired. I'm going to everybody. I'll be a hurricane in the story of a month. You'll be a hurricane? Hello, the Factory Polo. I'm finally going to get it ready rain tomorrow after a month and a half. Oh, wow. I have all the apps open, TTB and the NHC. Yeah. NHC hasn't been doing anything right now. As a matter of fact, I think I have their tab open. Yeah, they completely changed everything out there. They just have Invest 91L. And for some reason, people are still fixating on 91L, talking about how it's supposed to maybe come towards the U.S. And it's like, we gotta hype something up. There's something staring you in the face in the Caribbean, but yet we're still talking about 91L. I don't get it. Just like for a while, people were still hyping up the Gulf, and no one wanted to listen. There was nothing going to come of that. Some people were taken by surprise when they saw that National Hurricane Center dropped off the development chances. And I'm like, if you guys actually looked at the atmosphere to its entirety, you would have known that that was what was going to happen. The upper level low is completely gone now off of NHC. Yeah, I'm glad it is, too, because there was no chance of it developing. Not a chance. That's got a lot of convection. Yeah, it's still holding on. You can see right in through here. This is where our wave is. It hasn't really done a whole lot in terms of moving down ahead. And it's still firing pretty good, pretty consistently. We'll see if it's there again tomorrow morning or not. We'll also see what Zero Z has to say. Why it makes sense that they did. What, highlighted that circulation out in the Gulf? Why would it turn when it's still weak? Felipe? Well, Felipe is now expected to stay weak and continue to the west, but then completely dissipate as it gets to the north of the Greater Antilles Islands. I mentioned that earlier in my video, that especially the Euro really wants to take it further west and maybe even put it into the Bahamas at some point, but it's going to be a very raggedy center of circulation, if anything at all. See, I figured they would have highlighted it by now, Odell's legacy. Unless you meant to have Odell's legacy. No, not get rid of... No, get rid of getting rid of it. Huh? Ethan's life? No, get rid of getting rid of it? Why has Florida been drier lately? Just in general, or as of recently? Because recently we had a front get pulled south and dry air because of Ophelia. People still refuse to tell or to think that Ophelia was not tropical, but you can't have Ophelia without having the word front or cold air attached to it. But apparently it was still tropical. Felipe made more of a west turn and it's not going to curve. Well, yeah, the only reason that is because it's expected to completely diminish as you go through time, and our pattern across the North Atlantic is going to be changing. We've had that on and off, back and forth westward look to it for a while now, but the thing is it's not going to hold on to its intensity. I mean, look at that. Tropical storm all the way through, and it's a very distorted mess on satellite image right now. Got an exposed center. You can see the shears just ripping it apart almost entirely, and that's why it's going to be allowed to walk its way off to the west. You can see the center out here, and all the thunderstorms are displaced off to its west, or excuse me, its east on the right-hand side of it. And then what's anticipated to happen is as the pattern begins to build back in for a little while, we're going to see Rena try to transition off to the west and then suddenly, whoop, right out to sea. At least that's the goal anyways. Now that makes a lot more sense, Ethan's life. Yeah, I agree. I don't know why they had it on there in the beginning. I really don't. I even commented on a few other individual videos saying, you know, they're getting a little trigger happy with highlighting anything with a spin to it, as opposed to, you know, actually something that has the probability of developing. Let's go to windy.com and see if anything's popped up just yet out there. Oh, we got a nice little kink in the wind flow. So that tropical wave is still trying to do something. Well, it's not that every storm curves out. It's just the way the pattern has been established over the Atlantic. It's allowed for these systems to find an escape route to go to the north. They typically don't do that. Usually with an undisturbed upper level and low level pattern across the North Atlantic, especially during the hurricane season, they'll typically want to scoot westward and then either recurve towards the last second or unfortunately bombard the United States as they try to make their turn towards the upper latitudes. But because we've had such a weird pattern going on across not only North America, but the Atlantic to its entirety, they've been finding all these holes and openings to finally make their way up to the north. Weather love pattern, heavy rain here in Jupiter. Yeah, there's been a lot of potent thunderstorms over South and Central Florida today. Could this wave be like a dahlia and potentially form very fast? It could. Technically, it could. Like I said before, some of the models have whispered towards it, and I went very, very against the grain today and decided to step out of the comfort zone of what is highlighted and what's not highlighted and kind of make my own little brief analysis of we need to pay attention to this because this is what our models have been sort of whispering to us could be our next tropical system, albeit maybe even just a disturbance or all the way up to a tropical storm. I don't think anything is on the models right now in particular. Let me see if we have 18Z information. Let's see, we'll go to GFS. Nope, 18Z is not in just yet. Let's see the mean sea level pressure at 18Z. You see, now that's interesting. 18Z actually reduced the chances of it developing even more so. 12Z, I think, had a greater chance of it popping off. Yeah, see, 12Z had a bit of a higher chance that it'll deepen into something. 18Z doesn't have anything really with it. And then you can see out in the Atlantic that things are expected to find that weakness and ride to the north, staying pretty far away from everybody. Ethan, for that system in the Caribbean, Oh, yeah, Anthony Lee, I agree with that. Even if it doesn't form into anything, it's still going to come towards us and increase our rain chances for pretty much from today all the way almost through to the weekend until our front can come through. And I think that's really why the models are hesitant to try to develop it into anything, is because it's trapped between very unfavorable conditions and more or less more favorable conditions, if anything. So, we ain't getting anything this season except two systems that may affect the Gulf or East Coast, and we're done. El Nino and the ridging pattern and fronts will probably stop a lot. More or less the fronts, if anything. I'll still stand firm in my belief that if we do get something actually coming in the Caribbean or the Gulf of Mexico, then we'll really have to worry. But anything that tries to come in from the central or the eastern Atlantic, like last few storms have done, yeah, they're not getting through. They're definitely not getting through. Especially with such aggressive cold fronts that we have coming down here very soon. That's what had last night's runs of the GFS highlighting that we're not going to see anything out of it, is as that front comes down across the East Coast and really surges to the south, you can see as early as 12Z on Thursday, we already have the northern portions of Florida and the Gulf Coast states underneath that front. And then as you go through Friday, there's all the precip associated with that tropical wave kind of just getting pressed back down to the south as that high descends over the mid-Atlantic states. And then at this point in the model run, 180 hours out, you just have nothing but polar high pressure across the United States, all through here. This is all polar air. And then we have our next frontal system out here coming across, trying to instigate fall, winter out here. Or no, excuse me, fall weather, not fall, winter. And then we have just this small little sliver of summer holding on over the desert southwest. After it comes through, absolutely, Robert, I agree. After it comes through, that's where some of our models try to get aggressive with developing either the rest of this energy that's down there right now, it gets entrained along that frontal system, or it could be something totally different. Euro has not backed down from seeing that happen. Let's go forward in time. This is 12Z Euro, and you can see that we get a low trying to show itself off the coast of Florida, if not right on top of Florida, the very back end of the run, once that front has a chance to go stationary over top of us. And it's been on and off with this depiction. I believe it was late last night and very early this morning, the Euro wanted to highlight that low on the west side of Florida as actual, like, remnant energy from what's in the Caribbean now moving north, butting up against our front, and then getting some spin and developing a surface feature as time went on. Does the steering currents with these last several storms relate to the higher than normal sea surface temps? You know, I've been wondering that as well, because where there's higher sea surface temps, you're going to have a disruption in the overall atmospheric pattern. General lower pressure in those areas. And so as these systems try to come off the coast, or as these high pressures finally work their way through, they're going to seem a lot more dominant because of the lowering pressures across much of our heated areas. So yeah, I mean, believe it or not, all these hot sea surface temps may also be what's creating these barriers, preventing storms from coming into us. So a lot of people who are alarmed by just the sea surface temperatures alone don't realize that it's also going to play a role on our semi-permanent pressure systems across the Atlantic and in the United States. Which actually, when you bring that up, that does make a lot of sense with why our central Atlantic high, our Bermuda/Azores high, has been way up to the north, because we don't have that typical area of relatively cooler water further south into the central Atlantic. It's all further to the north, and that's probably why it's retreated to the north and east, allowing these storms to just continuously come on out because of all the super hot water beneath it. Yeah, I didn't evacuate for Hurricane Ian, and I'm on the East Coast in Volusia County. We had a Category 2 and 20 inches of rainfall, blah, blah, blah. You're so funny. With GFS, Ian showed me what a Cat 1 hurricane can do on my here in Charleston. Ian was pulled toward Florida due to a cold front. That's why I expect Florida to get another storm. If we can get something to form up, that's the thing. The parameters are in place for something to be driven up towards Florida, but that's if we can get something to actually satisfy the steering current, if that makes sense. Because there's nothing out there right now, and our models are really backing off on something developing. Let's go down over the Caribbean and see if the icon still has a surface low forming with this. I haven't really had a chance to look. Yeah, the icon still has a little bit of a surface low wandering its way into the Gulf of Mexico by Friday in response to all this energy that's out there right now. It's just very, very, I guess, frugal in wanting to actually spin something up. Anthony Lee, I agree. It was a beast. And it supercharged itself right before coming ashore, too. Since El Niño is going to impact Florida this year, does that mean storms approaching Florida from the west will feed off the hot water? Well, again, it really depends on if we can get something out there. We might have to go to the Greek alphabet names. We're going to get done with the regular season names. I mean, we're getting close, Daniel. We're trying to. Right now, we're guaranteed just about to see Rena. From there, though, we don't really have any indications that Sean and further on are going to develop. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at some of our long-range models. We'll go to the Euro and look at, once again, the ensemble products. Because I'm pretty sure that right now the only one that's more or less guaranteed to develop is 91L, and that'll give us our next name system. And from there, it's anybody's best guess. There's Felipe. He's already checked the box. Then there goes Rena eventually getting her act together and starting to form up. But then after that, that's it. After Rena, then there's really nothing out there to indicate that something else is going to form up. We get all these random weak indications of possible lower pressure along the coastline, but that's in response to the frontal systems we have coming off the coast. So, I don't know. It's going to be close. Ian ruined my B-Day too. Lots okay. It was a Memorial time. Yeah, it looks like it's reigniting. Do you see any rotation down there? Not yet. I've been watching. So far, there really isn't much. There's just that good old symbolic indication of a tropical wave. And it's right in through there. Very aggressive tropical wave. That's about it. Hype weather, man. It's Monday, though, so we're a little less hypey. Could the El Niño stop late season activity this year? Yeah, it could. It technically could, and I'm not saying that because of the fact that it'll keep things from forming thanks to cooler waters, because I know some people will argue, well, we have such hot ocean temperatures, ocean heat content, yada, yada, yada. But the problem is, like we're seeing right now with what's going on in the Gulf, if we go over to our shear model right here with the Euro, for example, look at all that shear that comes down off the United States right in through here. So even though everyone's been talking about, looking at storms forming up in the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico and right offshore, the problem with that is, as some of you have already mentioned with El Niño, that's what's going to help disrupt the jet and bring it much further to the south, that we're going to continue seeing those low pressure systems through fall and winter time. And as a result, anything that tries to brew up right next to the state of Florida or in the Gulf or etc. is going to run right into this massive swath of high level shear, and it'll just be shredded apart. What the F is a tropical wave anyway? So a tropical wave is basically an area of elongated, enhanced activity that pulls away. I mean, the general definition of it anyways is something that pulls away from your intertropical convergence zone out in the eastern Atlantic. Let me see if I can draw this so you guys can see. But a wave essentially is like an upside down trough. You know how we always talk about troughs coming across the United States and it has cooler air with it? Well, you could almost kind of say a tropical wave is like an upside down version of that with a little more warmer air associated with it and really good thunderstorm activity. And when they break away and start to move up to the north or gain those, northern latitudes as they move west-northwest, it's throughout that time that you start to get, internal processes like an internal combustion motor of a car that helps generate further thunderstorm activity. It helps to cool the atmosphere closest to where the bulk of the significant thunderstorm activity is. That's what helps to encourage the spinning that you get, along with, regular dynamic or physics in the atmosphere. And then slowly but surely, it turns into an actual organized system. And when they, quote, consolidate, that's when you have that spin instigated both by just regular physics and we'll say the cycling of heat and cool air inside of it, thanks to thunderstorms blowing up and then raining down, blowing up and raining down, and etc. I get to skip school tomorrow, so I'm feeling very hyped up. Daniel, I believe it. it's an elongated velocity with showers and thunder. Yeah, basically. And you get kinking in the isobars and kinking in the winds. If it stays under the anticyclone, do you think water temps support rapid intensification, Maddie? Not rapid intensification, but we could definitely see it start to spin. I'll give it that much. La Nina next year, or who knows, event? No, El Nino is going to be in place for a couple years now. This is the first year we're going from the La Nina. Back into La Nina was last year. We went into a neutral phase, and we're approaching stronger El Nino now. So give it another 2-3 years. By about 2025, 26, we'll be back in the heart of La Nina. And then we could really see things get crazy. If we're still on here talking YouTube, talking Tropics by then, Lord knows. Let's get through the rest of this year first. Very great explanation, smart. Tiffany's content. Welcome in. Good to see you, hon. Thanks for joining. You should go on Google and look up Citrus County community photos of Dali and just see how violent it really was. A lot of people need to see the pictures. Yeah, I would pull it up, but a lot of those people who need to see are not in here right now. A lot of the folks who need to see that stuff are the folks who are ignorant to what's actually going on in the weather department. And it's always, it's always the people who don't really know a whole lot that seem to talk the most. Actually, you're wrong, Nazario. Go ahead and check the climate models. Would we actually come out of El Nino sooner? Because the traditional oscillating patterns are always 2 to 3 years. There's no way we're going to go back to La Nina next year. I don't believe that. I mean, we can go ahead and look, but that'd be wild if we swung back in it already, because we were in La Nina for about 2 to 3 years. And also, before you say it's too far out, climate models predicted El Nino 1 year out as well. Well, no, yeah, there are such things as oscillating models. That's how we dictate whether we're going to be La Nina, neutral, or El Nino. There's one model showing switch to La Nina on like 2. Hell no. Yeah, see, Ethan, I agree with that. There's no way. All the ENSO models are showing it going back to neutral by spring of 2024. Well, I mean, if we do, then we do. I've never seen it go back that fast. ENSO index forecast. Let's see. Blah, say blah, blah, blah. So El Nino is anticipated to continue through the winter at 95 or greater until March of 2024. Let's see. And then let's go on and see. I don't remember where we used to do an El Nino discussion and a La Nina discussion in our synoptic analysis discussion when I was in the military, but I don't remember what the whatchamacallit. Shucks. I don't remember what the link is, which is unfortunate. Anyways, this is the oscillation that goes on out there. It kind of waxes and weans every 2 to 3 years, give or take. We have maxes and minimums. I had a chart that I put on one of my videos, and now I can't find it. But that did a very great job of showing El Nino chart. Maybe that's what I'll be able to find it. Let's see. I'm like drawing a blank right now. It's either I'm tired or my blonde is showing. But there is a forecasted chart, whatever. We're not going to go over it. Anyways, the traditional oscillating pattern is every 2 to 3 years. So for us to bounce back into a La Nina next year would be scary. That's not usually how it works. El Niños only typically go for 1 year, though. 1997, 1998, 2015, 2016. I don't think it's going to be here for years. Maybe I'm wrong then. There he is. Wow, look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, an enormous shout out to a Mr. Shane Castle. It was on the MEI page, but I've been hard-pressed to find that table of analog years. Mr. Shane Castle was one of my favorite mentors during my time in Air Force weather, and that's exactly what I was talking about. But I guess if we could see us switch back to a La Nina here very soon, then it's very possible. I don't know. I just know that it typically ebbs and flows every couple of years. What else were we? I see people debating stuff in here, though. What we got going on? All the ENSO models are showing it going back to neutral by spring 2024. DW the Cat 10 girl predicts a major hurricane for Florida in December. El Nino is only typically have a good night. I'm going, why isn't anyone watching this? They must believe this is going to rain itself out and head due west. Glad you're keeping an eye on Maddie. I agree. The main reason no one's watching it right now is because none of our models really highlight anything. And that's kind of what the unfortunate reality of tropical forecasting is for folks who aren't actual subject matter experts. I'm by far not a subject matter expert. I only have very little analysis experience with tropical features. A lot more of my experience comes from just traditional synoptic meteorology. But when you see something, you say something, and that looks very aggressive on satellite, and it is highlighted, or analyzed, I should say, as a tropical wave with good characteristics just above and back upstream of it. So it's anybody's best guess. We've had ensembles predicting we could see something develop as well. So that's the main reason I wanted to put some more emphasis on it, because everyone was fixating on an upper cold core system over the Gulf. I play the hurricane game on Roblox. I'm going to play it by. Yeah, my friend saw so much tree damage and their home is still damaged from Idalia. If I can't track real storms, I'll make my own with the game Hurricane Reborn. Look at the ENSO forecast La Nina next year. Do you think if Rena for some reason got up to Florida that it'll be ripped apart by shear? It's very possible. We're going to have such powerful wind shear coming through the area very soon that it's very possible. There goes Willow photobombing the camera again. Why am I drawing a blank? Let me go ahead and search that up. This is not what I wanted. I want the actual statistics. Nope, that's not it either. Let's go to Climate Prediction Center then. Blah, 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 blah. SST animation, SST anomalies, educational materials, diagnostic current conditions. Nope, that's not it either. Yep, I don't know why I'm not able to find it right now. That's not it. Dang, I pulled it up and I had it in one of my videos, and I don't know where I pulled it up from and I lost it now. I guess I don't have it saved. Anyways, I'll get back to you guys about that here at a later date. That's really going to bother me now. I don't know why I can't find it. Now I'm opening up all these new pages, and it's really not going to do us any good. CPC hasn't come out with a new chart yet. But anyways, if there was a La Nina with these Atlantic temps, what would the season look like? Well, if there was a La Nina, we would definitely have it a lot more intense season, that's for sure. Albeit, really, El Nino's done very little in terms of our overall development. It's just helped with steering these systems in a different direction. Love the cat. She's hungry, that's what it is. Right, Mamas, you're hungry? Yeah, I know. It's time to eat. I'm sorry. We're running late. Brad's in here. Hype, hype, hype. Let me guess. Something is going to hit Florida. I haven't said anything about anything hitting Florida. In fact, I've been trying to dispel anybody mentioning specifically that Florida is going to get hit by anything. The people that you should be going after, as a matter of fact, Savannah, calling hype, are the folks who were talking about how we really need to watch that NHC disturbance closely, because from day one, even before they highlighted it, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday of last week, I made sure to tell everyone in my videos and in Tropics Talk that there's no cause for alarm. It's not going to be tropical. It's breakaway upper level energy. But of course, as soon as NHC slapped an identification on it, everyone started hyping up and saying, with the sea surface temperatures out there, this could get dangerous. And it's like, you guys got to look at the whole atmosphere. Stop fixating on what's on one chart. The cat's name is Weather Center Willow. I'm just kidding. No, her name is just Willow. Love her to death. Hype Central. What's funny, Supercharged is my old dance YouTube channel was called Hype Central. Florida is always the one that everyone mentions first for hurricane. Yeah, we've been very fortunate this year in Florida with the hurricanes. I hope it stays that way. I enjoy the science and models. Is there a way to manipulate the jet stream and Gulf to push out storms? No, there's no way. That would be pretty crazy, if anything, if there was. I know that there's some people who want to bring, I think it's HARP into the equation, but I don't buy into any of that. What is your opinion on the hypers on Twitter and TikTok? That's exactly all that they are. They're just hypers. I still remember there was one video I was sharing around quite consistently that mentioned that people were predicting weird things with Hurricane Lee. You don't even know where it's going to go. Why say it's going to hit Florida? I don't know who's saying it's going to hit Florida. Savannah, you're putting me on blast right now, and I'm not saying anything about Florida. I'm trying to tell everyone nothing's happening in Florida right now. Do you know Weatherman Plus? Yeah, I've been watching Weatherman Plus since Ian last year, and, you know, sometimes I'm not going to say anything that could incriminate myself. That's it. Miami's weather is about to get interesting in the next hour. It's very windy. Yeah, we have leftover thunderstorms making their way up into that area. No, Nazario, we need the views. Slap on the wrist. Views are slow. We do have something come prepared, Florida. That's what I forget who I was cracking the joke with the other day or yesterday or sometime in the really distant past. But I mentioned that if we're going to highlight and hype up NHC's little indicated disturbance, and at that rate, just hype everything up. Cat 5s for everybody. And I'm not saying that as fact. I'm just saying, like, let's just get it out there. Let's get some views going. Have you noticed that El Niño has lost the 4C anomalies near the equator? I haven't really been looking too heavily at it, but I guess now I really need to start looking at it. Maybe we could see it rotate back through. I'm still trying to find that MEI index, or the MEI. Let's go back one more time. I'm going to search it one more time because there's one chart that really helps MEI El Niño. Let me see if I can find it in here. Nope. Oh, this is what I want. The multivariate ENSO index. This is where you see we have a great indication of how it oscillates. So yeah, maybe it is annually. Forgive me, I messed that up. I think it was another oscillation that I was researching, but this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. You can see that there's different values for when we're neutral, when we're more El Niño, La Niña. The blue symbols would be La Niña, and you can see that they typically last for quite some time, and they vary. They definitely vary. It's not a guarantee that it'll only run 8 to 12 months. You can see down here, as a matter of fact, from 2020 to 2022, we were in La Niña for almost 2 years. So textbook, it does run for about a year-ish, give or take. But if you look at this, actually, this works really well. This chart right here shows us that from 2020, we were in La Niña conditions for 2.5 years. Until the beginning of this year, we started to rotate through to El Niño. So it's anybody's best guess. Here's another one that shows that we were in El Niño for about a year and a half, going on 2 years until 1978. This is climatological here. From 1973 to 1976, we were La Niña. Now we're just going back in time, though. I was going to say, I know I wasn't out to lunch and mentioning that it oscillates every couple of years or so, and it really just depends. It's another one of those things that kind of just goes back and forth. It's an ebb and flow kind of situation, just like with our Matt and Julian oscillation. Yes, I know, mamas. We're going to go eat soon. I'm sorry. But, yeah, I guess the key takeaway with this thing out in the Caribbean is we're stuck right in between an area of positive influence and a really bad hostile area of influence on it. Go look. There's a Come On Florida for a Cat 5, 190-mile-an-hour winds. Sad, sad times. Disciple Weather also mentioned I think that was 3 or 4 streams ago. I remember that. Cat 5 for everyone. You get it. Yeah, Elite Chief Stark, I mentioned that. Yep, she's back. She's making her noise. She's going to photobomb the camera again. There she goes. 1998 was insane for Florida. I know what going to hit Florida. Air. And I would hope that air doesn't just now hit Florida. If not, we're all dead. Yeah, Savannah, my guy never say it was going to hit Florida. Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm not saying anything is going to Florida. The only thing I made mention of in my earlier Tropics talk and my video today is the fact that that's a really potent tropical wave out there. Even right now, at the very back end of this infrared satellite loop, look at how it's really consolidating right in through here, just to the southwest of Jamaica, as that little area of vorticity that came off of Panama really digs itself into the center of its axes. That's interesting. I really want to see what this looks like when we wake up tomorrow. And that's the only thing. Like, it's in a very specific, Florida is getting hit per... All right, now I'm starting to think we got a troll amongst us. Starting to think that we got a little bit of trolling going on, because I've definitely said multiple times now that we don't have anything coming towards Florida. I did mention we're going to get rain and increased shower activity from this thing. That's for sure. That's inevitable. I mean, we're already getting it right now. You can see it on the satellite. And that's more so in part due to the diffluence or the spreading out of the airflow with our system over the Yucatan. So, why do you hype so much getting hit? Nazario, do you live stream during hurricane landfalls? Yeah, I definitely want to. I wanted to do storm chasing before anything came our way, if it did. But now it's just a matter of if that's actually going to take place. We'll have to see what this thing does. If it just continues off to the west and rains itself out over the Yucatan Peninsula, parts of Central America, or if it does try to work its way up towards Cuba like the Icon model is predicting. Troll in the dungeon. Channeling your inner Professor Quirrell. I want a tropical storm in Miami. I like tropical weather. Danny showed flooding in Jamaica from that wave. Yeah, it got really bad for a while there. It's still pretty bad. It looks like the bulk of the really heavy precip is now off to the south, thankfully. They're under just residual cloud cover, at least looking at infrared. But earlier today, they were mentioning high winds and very heavy precip. So, that's definitely tropical in nature when you get winds and rain like that. So, we'll see. The biggest thing for today was I was trying to, just put some emphasis on it. Try to get everyone to stop talking about what NHC is highlighting and just step out of their comfort zone and be like, we need to look at this instead. Can we look at the latest GFS ensembles? Yeah, we looked at it earlier, and honestly, it's backed off on trying to develop anything special out of that system. But then again, they've been back and forth. Oh, here we go. 18Z is in now. Yes, it still tries to form... Whoa, wow. It does something really weird off of our coastline, that's for sure. We'll change the AOI and go in a little bit closer. Let's go to Gulf of Mexico, 18Z. So at 36 hours out, we get one ensemble member. At 48 hours out, we still have just the one ensemble member, and as you go through time, you get a little bit of agreement. Nothing really crazy in the Gulf, but then look at what comes off of the east coast of Florida. That's very bizarre. But I don't usually trust long-range 18Z GFS. I'd much rather look at 12Z. And 12Z had a couple of members coming right out of there and moving into the Gulf of Mexico. And then you can see it button up against right there at the 180-hour mark. You can see how our ensemble members either go wide left or wide right, because that's our frontal system coming down for the weekend. And that makes a lot of sense. If that front comes down and they interact, this thing's going to get blown to kingdom come because of all that increased shear and the cold air expected to come down with it. Were you able to chase a Dahlia? No, unfortunately. Why not read Brad's comments? Sorry, Brad, I haven't really even been seeing you comment in there. I see you pop up every once in a while. Let me go back up. Feel like he loses sleep over people calling him a hyper? Not at all, no. Actually, to tell you the truth, where I lose sleep is where people hype up things that aren't meant to be hyped up. So it's kind of the opposite. And you can ask all my closest friends and family. They'll hear me, getting upset, like, why are people hyping this up? Like, when people were talking about life-threatening conditions and dangerous weather conditions with Ophelia, I was just like... In the grand scheme, the Carolinas have seen such worse weather, not only from actual winter storms, but from actual tropical storms. And I don't mean literal tropical storms, I mean just tropical systems. Like, we've had so many major hurricanes go up there, and people wanted to make Ophelia seem like she was going to be the end of the world. But real stuff, if anyone here is hating, thinking he is hyping, I don't think Savannah is, but if so, this is to you. He is the best forecast trouble we have. The Florida man, oh, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. But no, Brad, I don't lose sleep over people calling me a hyper. I lose sleep over people who are hyping up and actually have people believing into them. That's where it gets a little scary. Because there was a lot of fear surrounding Ophelia. I started noticing on Mike's weather page, other YouTube pages, even my own, people were commenting and asking, do you think that we should evacuate and all this stuff? And I'm like, guys, no, please slow down. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I think 24, 25 neutral. Yeah, is your goal to do this full time? You're really good at it, man. Clayton, you know, my goal in reality, and I'm almost there, is to get my weather degree, which I should have done while I was still in the military. I don't know why I didn't. But to get my degree and get AMS certified and go television. So in the meantime, I'm doing YouTube to kind of continue to groom that public speaking capability and the skills that I developed during my time in Air Force weather and just in general. Wilhelm, I'm going to go circle back to your question. Was I able to chase a Dahlia? No, unfortunately. I was outside here shooting content, but I didn't really get to chase it, no. What do you think about Pat's Path Predictor? Path and I, we collaborate quite a bit. It's been a little quiet in there ever since we haven't had anything major popping off in the Atlantic, but him and a few others and myself, we collaborate from time to time, which is pretty neat. I like talking to everybody. That's my favorite part about this community, honestly, is just networking and collaboration. If Mr. Castle's still in here, you can ask him yourself. I even ask now if they're still doing collaboration with the 25th when they do their synoptic analysis. Because that's how we all learn. That's truly how we get better. I can't tell you the amount of times where I would sit back after working an overnight shift and I'll admit, there were some mornings where I'd want to just, quote, mail in my charts and be done with it because I was so tired. But then getting that second set of eyes and discussing a couple things, it really opens your perspective to, oh, how did I miss that? And then it makes so much more sense. You discuss it and you both take in a little bit of additional knowledge and experience. Especially with weather. It is not black and white. It's always interpretation, and you're always learning, you're always changing, and you're always adjusting. You have to be very resilient. Look at the winter forecast. Actually, though, our snowfall percentage per year is about above average because of the polar vortex. The polar vortex! That was our favorite thing to talk about. Gabriel, late joining in. It's already 50 after. You're hella late. I don't think these kids know what hype means. Yeah, Harrison, I think because how much it's thrown around, people naturally think hype is when I'll explain something with a little bit of energy in my voice. Hype would be exactly what a few YouTube pages were saying about Ophelia. If you're in the path of Ophelia, evacuate now. That's hype. And that's entirely negligent on their part. Only people who should tell you whether or not you need to evacuate are more than official sources and emergency services, for that matter. What do you think about, I already mentioned Pat's Path Predictor. 196 would be the day after tomorrow type stuff. Is it bad to say I want to cat one something that's not catastrophic but will be a good introduction to a hurricane? So fascinating. That's not bad at all. I mean, if I could let you in on a secret without you guys really thinking I'm a hyper, I get hyped when it looks like we can talk about a storm coming to Florida or something nearby. Granted, it comes with a lot of dangerous phenomena, but I'd be lying to everybody if I said, no, I want it to stay away. I don't want anything to happen, yada, yada, yada. Because, I mean, that's what we live and die by. We wouldn't be able to call ourselves weather enthusiasts and get scared when active weather comes our way. Everyone has opinions. They won't hesitate to tell you, and their opinion is always the correct. Yep, Mr. Castle, you got it right. The moment you have an opinion, it's like, nope, you're wrong. And the one thing I'll admit, Brad, going back to what you had said earlier, another thing I'll openly admit that I've started to find myself obsessing over since starting up YouTube is how the higher subscriber count you have, you know, you can kind of get away with anything. With me, for example, if I were to say, yep, this tropical wave is going to form up, we got a Cat 5 coming into Florida, prepare, people like Savannah right now, you're hyping. David, you're wrong. You don't know anything. You got 3,000 subscribers. But then if you go to someone with the likes of 100, 200,000 subscribers, etc., and they were to say the exact same thing, this tropical wave's going to form up, we have to prepare now, everyone would jump in their comments and say, whoa, this person's popular, they must know a thing or two, so let's listen, they know what they're doing. I see it all the time. I look at comments and all that. My point proven, greatly put. I want a weak hurricane so I can experience. I mean, you know, every hurricane is different, so even a weak one can still get very dangerous. Dude, why did you just say that? I don't know what I just said. That's incriminating. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to go back to my account and see 0 subscribers. That's game over. Don't worry, I like hurricanes so much that I can draw one. Yep, hype. Stop hyping so much. There's nothing to hype. This is just making me laugh now. There's nothing out there to hype. Hype would be, yep, watch out for Irina. She's coming straight in. A tornado is more powerful than a hurricane itself. Well, not always. Not always. They're more violent than hurricanes, and they could get very strong, for sure. Usually once you get to once you get to F3 and higher, you're typically outside the realm of whatchamacallit, hurricane intensity. But if you get a major hurricane or something stronger than that, then you have about the same level of intensity as what you'd find in a very concentrated funnel of a tornado. Can you talk about 91L path, even if Felipe goes west and gets weak? Yeah, 91L still looks like it's not really going to do a whole lot. We can go to our Euro model right now, which has been the one that's been very adamant about pushing Felipe west. And even right there at the very back end of the run, you can see Rena gets her act together, starts to deepen down, and then gets sucked up by our massive polar high coming off the North and Mid-Atlantic states. And look at that mature system out there. That thing is wicked. 952 millibars. And look at the occlude. Why is my pen so small? Look at the occluded system right out here, going all the way up into the northern countries of Europe. Look at that thing. Massive. That's huge. At the very end of, or at the beginning of October. That's wild. Do you think that the hurricane season might be extended this year due to those extremely warm? I live in Tampa, and this has been a worrisome season so far. No, I do need a hype man. Gabriel, if you're still in the comments, Gabriel's got my back in terms of hyping things up when we need to. Let's see. Those palm trees are strong. Guys, Nazario's not hyping. He's just being real. Yeah, I mean, you guys could call it hype. If you think my excitement for weather phenomena then is hype, then yeah, I mean, throw the cuffs on me, put me in jail, impeach me. Because I do. I get excited. You don't really ever find a meteorologist who likes coming into work and talking about clear blue 42, high pressure. Nothing's going on, guys. I was the same person during my shift change briefings in the military who could go on for 5-10 minutes just saying high pressure and tell you why it's going to be high pressure because of high pressure during high pressure. And everyone would be like, nothing's happening. You didn't have to stay up there and talk for so much. Demonic intentions, hype. I'm going to have to refer you to my old dance channel, Hype Central. That's where all the hype is. But Colleen, to answer your question, I don't think we're going to see it extended. I definitely don't think we're going to see it extended. We could see some flare-ups with all these frontal systems working their way into the Gulf, and I know a few other meteorologists are highlighting that. Because, I mean, you look at the very end of this run of the Euro at 12Z, and you can see that we have something very reminiscent of what Ophelia did off the coast of Florida trying to form up again. I just wish that we would stop calling them pure tropical systems, because they're definitely not. They're definitely a little bit more on the subtropical side of things. That's for certain. Idalia was hype, and I loved it. Yeah, but see, that kind of makes sense. When you have a major hurricane coming towards you, it makes sense to hype up. Like, that's another thing, guys. You got to delineate between when hype is actually necessary and when it's not necessary. If this glob of stuff out in the Caribbean was forming off the coast of Florida and people were trying to say it's going to cause 100-mile-an-hour winds, then that would be hype. Like, there's nothing going on with it, guys. Idalia, when you had a Cat 3 popping off towards the Florida Panhandle, that's when you kind of have to hype up a little bit to get your message across. LMFAO, no worries, bro. Stop hyping more than it is. I'm going to start intentionally hyping just to piss some more people off. People don't like when you get excited for bad weather like hurricanes, like Jim Cantore. He loves it. Yeah, and he hypes them up, but that's his job and his passion. Yeah, Anthony, great point. You look at the likes of Jim Cantore, Reed Timmer, other storm chasers out there. You look at all the documentaries on TLC, Discovery Channel, National Geographic, and they hype. They flip. I'll refer you to Jim Cantore's weather video during his thunder snow, and he wanted to do backflips. Also, Demonic, stop targeting me. It's annoying. Carl McCain, you don't hype. Thank you. To be a mod, you have to hype up a storm, guys. LMAO, hype only. Are you single? Empress Athena, that was a real... I'm going to skip right over that. We're not going to get that personal right now in the chat. This is weather only. Weather only and hype. We can stick to the hype, but Empress, that's... I appreciate you shooting the shot a little bit. People will still call you hype when a major hurricane forms again. Yeah, Elite Chief Stark, I was talking to my best friend Gabriel about that. There was one day where I was talking about ensembles predicting that we could see something form in the Caribbean when they'd initially started to show something, and someone actually got mad and said essentially that I'm not hyping up enough. And someone's been commenting on my videos mentioning how, oh, why are you not panicking? Why are you not freaking out about Ophelia? Guys, there needs to be more hype around this. Why are you not hyping? So it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Too much and too little is a bad thing. So you gotta walk a tightrope, I guess. Nazario is just enthusiastic about what he does, like the energy. Yeah, and I'm always going to be. Do you ever look at the Historical Hurricane Tracks website? Oh, yeah. I find myself looking back at 2004 predominantly, I'll be honest. Adalia put most of downtown Tampa under several feet of water, so it definitely did some damage. But I heard about that, actually. I heard about that late in the run of that storm's life cycle, that there was some video coming out of Tampa that showed that it actually was submerged pretty bad as it passed off to the west. So it goes to show they didn't even take a direct hit, and they still saw some pretty impressive flood damage. No comment, wifey. People can never be satisfied. No, unfortunately. Adalia was the storm for Florida this year. Thankfully, no more storms this year. We'll see. Charlie rant now. Yeah, I'm going to defend Charlie till the day I die. My favorite hurricane. Hype. I'm hyping a storm from 2004. My favorite hurricane. And it always will be my favorite hurricane. You said you would talk about it another day. Today's the day. Weather, hype, and movies is the main convention conversations here now. Yeah. We're at the 9 o'clock mark, so now we might as well start talking about movies. I'm pretty pumped. Saw releases this Friday. I'm excited to see that. I got a nice little treat for October 1st this weekend. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I've been storyboarding a little YouTube short I'm going to do for you guys. My favorite hurricane is Irma. See, now we're treading into dangerous water here, guys. This whole chat's about to go hype when we start talking about favorite hurricanes. Why would you hype up a bad hurricane? And it's like, well, you know what? Can you break down the tropics a bit more, please, with regards to the possible scenario, especially with regards to South Florida? Yeah, absolutely. We'll stay on track. Thank you for kind of reining it in a little bit. But in layman's terms right now, there really isn't a whole lot to break down with the tropics, to tell you the truth. Right now, we're not really anticipating a whole lot of anything, at least in the meantime. Today's emphasis was just pushed onto this tropical wave because no one wants to talk about it. No one wants to take it into account. And more than likely, it won't be here over the next few days. But this is the one that we need to pay attention to. And as the source regions begin to shift from out in the Atlantic, closer to home, Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean once again, because that's typically just what happens this time of year. That's where a lot of folks are starting to get a little weary about these frontal systems that keep coming out over the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf Stream waters. We could see something spin up along its axes. I'll actually take us over to Tropical Tidbits, one of my favorite websites, and we'll look at some of the climatology models. Let me change my AOI here. We'll go North Atlantic. Let me clear my ink out of the way, and we'll go monthly, and we'll see what we have going on with precip and moisture monthly totals. So actually for October, this backed off pretty considerably from what we were seeing. So actually for October and November, it doesn't really seem like we're going to get a whole lot of action out there. And then December, we have an increase in moisture over the Caribbean and Central Atlantic. Let me change to the CANSIPS model. There we go. So for October, we still get some stuff coming out through here, but nothing really across the southeast or anything like that. And then it kind of expands for November, and then we get that transition to take effect across the eastern seaboard, and then we're done with hurricane season. You can see how it very quickly just washes everything out of the Atlantic. And then it's bon voyage until next year. He is working on a remake of Nosferatu, the 1979 version. Really? Okay. That's interesting. How is it favorite? High winds and rain is interesting, but not when billions of dollars. See, I knew someone was going to say it. We were treading into dangerous territory calling it favorite. But you know what? For the sake of extreme weather and storm chasing, that's why it's my favorite. And I'm going to stand firm to that. You guys can get mad. You can say that I'm saying something wrong. And I understand that what comes with bad weather. But when you actually go out and put yourself in harm's way, you know, it is what it is. And I enjoyed looking at weather phenomena. It's what got me hooked in the first place. I didn't get passionate and want to do weather in the future because I saw clear skies and calm winds. I saw some pretty intense stuff when I was growing up, and that's what finally instigated, I want to study this stuff. All right. But, digital dentistry, so are those troughs that should drive 91L northward definitely predicted to occur? Yeah, definitely. And you could, I mean, we can go back to the GFS model, for example, and look out in time just a little bit. And as you go forward, you could really see that high pressure that comes down across the eastern United States. That's what's really going to help to push our storms out to sea. That's a very potent polar high. And that's why next weekend, albeit is going to be very rainy and wet, but we should have a clearing trend go on just shortly after that because of where that frontal system is. I'll also pull up WPC so we can take a look at what they're predicting in terms of what our surface fronts look like. And then we go into next weekend, and yeah, I mean, we still have some leftover moisture because of the systems in the Caribbean and in the Gulf, but we'll have cooler temperatures for all intents and purposes just in time for the start of October. So yeah, we're going to have a force field over top the eastern U.S. again. I haven't seen rain since Idalia, Empress Athena, lightning bolt. Rain is amazing. It is. I saw Irma and was like, damn, what, the weather can do that? Exactly. You know, it's very interesting to see exactly what it could do and how it wants to do it because it doesn't play by the rules. Rain is good. Rain is life. I'll be sad when hurricane season ends. I'll be on the Hurricane Reborn 24/7 to get my... Yeah, I think a lot of us are going to be upset when hurricane season ends, especially folks who, dare I say it, live off the hype. They're going to have to transition to hyping up winter storms and mentioning how you could freeze to death if you go outside. You guys remember that scene in The Day After Tomorrow where the dude came out of the helicopter and immediately froze? Well, this is it. Just kidding. I'm not offended. I understand, but no one should enjoy at the expense of others. That's all. I am sensitive to this because lives have been lost. Absolutely, and that's where you have to learn as a meteorologist to turn that kind of, I guess, adrenaline junkie perspective off when you need to. And that's one thing that's been very admirable every time I sit down and watch storm chasing documentaries and storm chasing videos and ventures, because you see how in the very beginning everyone's excited, everyone's freaking out like, oh my god, we got a tornado, and then as soon as it's done, it's like the switch flips and it's like, okay, we got to go help people, we need to go survey the damage, check if everyone's okay. So that's what I'm alluding to here. You know, watching it take place and watching it happens is where it gets very exciting for us, especially when we know what's happening and we can see it unfolding. It's after the fact where we know to dial back those emotions and focus on making sure that everyone's taken care of. And the fact that we know how to project our emotions during this phenomena actually taking place is what helps people get out of harm's way, because we are willing to put ourselves in the path and dictate and observe exactly what's happening then, there, and, going forward. I'm not saying show stream sense is just audio, but I went outside during a dolly in my pool gate. My ears popped, and I couldn't hear anything when I was recording 100+ mile-an-hour winds. If you ever want to listen to it whenever, wow. Yo, Harrison, no offense, but Fortnite definitely tells me your age. Whoa, where did that come from? I don't know how Irma managed to impact us badly in Charleston. Alex banned from Discord server. For Alex, I do too. Live been saying that. I've seen the rotation. It's not like we are telling to come here. It's Mother Nature, and it's something we can do about it. Might as well document it. Exactly. I just looked at Empress at the end of this channel. She's like 8, and she said, are you single? WTF. That's why I'm very glad, Harrison, I did not respond to that. Going to end up on Chris Hansen's Dateline MSNBC or whatever it is. I like watching compilations of those on YouTube. Anyways, yeah, so we're going to get ready to call the stream. We're coming up on the hour right now. I know I ran behind by about 10 minutes because of the power outage here earlier today. But were there any other questions? Digital dentistry, did you have any other questions? Because I know I kind of glazed over it, and I apologize. The main reason I did glaze over it is because there really isn't a whole lot to talk about. We've seen some very interesting trends with Felipe, but because of the fact he's going to be entering a very harmful environment for his center, and he's already in one, I don't predict we're going to see anything really credible out of whatever comes westward with his situation in the Atlantic. I mean, you look at the satellite image with him right now, and it's not very good. Here are the intensity ensembles I pulled up earlier. And it's just not a very healthy storm. He's in a very bad place right now. I don't know why I worded it like that. He's in a very dark place right now. He's not doing too good. We got to give him some space. But we're back with the fork in the road, deterministic plots out in the Atlantic. Some want to even hook it back over with the interaction between him and Rena. Rena's going to be the one to watch as it deepens and tries to become the dominant system out there in the Atlantic, but the general trend is they're going to just continue to dance around one another and then get sucked out into the greater Atlantic area, impacting nobody whatsoever. We'll just have to watch close to home. I will not be surprised if people start hyping up what the Euro and the GFS are trying to predict with something forming off the Florida coastline again. I just want to see if Felipe died out, if 91L should be still head north. Yeah, Felipe is looking like he's going to die out. That's for sure. Nazara, can you look at the satellite and see if there's rotation? Because I think we might be rotating. Let me go back to the satellite image. Let's go back before we end the stream. Come on, vamonos. Everybody, let's go. That's a healthy tropical wave. Even just looking at the static image, though, you can't argue. Let's go. We'll do infrared shortwave IR. No, we really can't see anything. We have all that high-level cloud cover across it because of the thunderstorms we saw all day today. You can't really see much. But, I mean, that's still very impressive. This is just me, but I'm surprised that people earlier today making their videos and their content throughout the back end of the afternoon into the evening time didn't even really touch on this. Like, no one really pointed it out. The most I heard people mention was, we have some really nice thunderstorm activity in the Caribbean. And it's like, that's going back to Brad's comment. I don't know if he's still in here, but that's what I lose sleep over. Like, we have folks who will hype up something that has a 10% chance of development, but then something staring you in the face that actually looks like that no one was predicting, you're not going to say anything about it. So I don't know. That's what I tend to get some eye twitches about. True Color is showing it best. Let's go on to True Color real fast. I don't think we have True Color anymore because it's sundown now. We're just looking at that shortwave IR again. It's definitely not in a very heavily sheared environment, though. If it was, we would be seeing all this cloud cover shooting off to the north like it is just downstream of it. You can see where our strongest upper-level winds with that upper low over the Yucatan are right out in front of it right here. That's what I was mentioning earlier. There's all your diffluent flow that was causing the thunderstorms over Florida earlier today. And then back behind you can see the winds rotating around our upper anticyclone right about here. So maybe that anticyclone's going to win. And it's going to get over ahead of it, and then we'll really have to see what happens as we go through tomorrow and Wednesday, if it holds together. So, yeah, you never know. David and I have been a hype duo in Halo and COD since the mid-2000s after we survived Hurricane. Yep, that is true. We were in elementary school, and we were talking about Hurricane Charlie and all the different storms while we were in 4th grade. I was born on COD. Alex Ball, I feel the fear, bro, but don't let it get in the way of a fun hobby. Mute game chats and messages. Surround yourself with friends. Game exactly. Probably just thought they were regular storms. Haha, vamonos. Oh, look who it is in the chat. Wow. Okay, we have some really high-vis VIPs in the chat tonight. We have my mentor, Mr. Castle. Wow. I was going to say something totally different. We have Shane Castle in the chat. We have one of my lovely coworkers from Advent Health in the chat tonight. Wow, very impressive. Nazara, you were a first-time home buyer? I was, not anymore. When do we know if it's going to stay under that anticyclone? Well, we'll see what happens over the next 24 hours. It's still looking fairly impressive on satellite. And I did tell you guys earlier today when this popped off around lunchtime, it's been about 8 hours going on 12 hours very soon. And we haven't really seen a whole lot of dissipation in these thunderstorms. If you look off to, actually, if you look on either side of it out here, you can see how daytime thunderstorms, especially over the terrain, they fire up and then they just peter out. And then if you look out downstream of it, all those storms induced by the jet activity out back behind that upper low, you see them pop up and then peter out. The fact that we have some sustainment with that tropical wave definitely keeps it in a realm of we should probably pay a little attention to it. But yeah, anyways, trying to cancel me. Nope. Mr. Cancel. I don't know where that came from. Cancel culture. They're trying to cancel me with all this hype that apparently I'm spewing out. I've had a lot of castleisms over the last 72 to 96 hours, the last few days, with everyone talking about that low in the Gulf. October and November like to focus on the Gulf of Florida, like Eta-type storms. Yeah? Are you going live again tomorrow at noon if it develops more? We'll see. We'll definitely see. It really just depends. If there's anything worth talking about, if NHC highlights it, then maybe we can talk about it. But if nothing really changes and we just continue to see the thunderstorm activity with it, then there's no sense in hyping up and jumping on a live. I gotta stop saying that. There's no sense in jumping on a live, though. If something were to change and we all of a sudden got like a depression or something like that, then maybe, but I don't know if that's what's going to happen either. That reminds me of that one video of Joe Biden. True international pressure. I don't know what he said, but cancel you over pressure, Elite Chief Stark. Weather Sponge just posted a video about this system. But all right, no, we're getting on the side tangents now. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. We're over the hour mark. It is an hour. I can't see my clock. An hour and 6 minutes. I'm going to go eat soup. Bye-bye. Have fun weathering weather. Absolutely. Clayton Keeney, Nazario over NHC. Wow. Thank you very much for that. I definitely do not consider myself above the NHC. There's just a couple things that I think are questionable in terms of what they highlight for future development. Either that or maybe they just need to be a little bit more clear when they highlight certain features because, as we all know, a lot of folks on social media, when they see a little yellow blob, they're like, oh snap, Cat 5. That's not what happens. It's definitely not how it works. El Niño is getting its act together, need rain systems over the drought-stricken south. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll definitely have a lot more moisture coming into the pattern very soon with all these systems dipping down to the south over the United States. So it's only a matter of time. You know what? Actually does kind of look like there's a little something trying to rotate right in through there. Why is my pen so huge? I didn't click on the size of the pen. But it looks like there might be something trying to rotate down in there. I'm seeing a little bit of southerly flow. A little bit of southerly flow right there in the low-level clouds beneath all that upper-level cirrus. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. It was worth talking about. It's worth bringing up. You don't see that every day out in the Caribbean. But, anyways, so tropical disturbance at the Yucatan is discontinued. Yes. It really wasn't even a disturbance, honestly. It really wasn't. If I'm being boldly honest, you can see in... I'll actually do you one better, and we'll go to water vapor real quick. You can see this channel darkening in through here. That's all jet energy wrapped up in it. That's more of a mid to upper level low height center. That's why you have all the convective activity flaring up over the Yucatan Peninsula. There's its center right there. It's over land. I don't know why National Hurricane Center was highlighting something up here, because that's definitely not it. That ain't it, guys. He is just hyped. Y'all love Pat's Path Predictor. Idalia should be retired if there was a record storm surge over $1 billion a day. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. Yeah, I noticed the circulation earlier. I know, let's hope we do not see a yellow box. Mike's weather page hasn't said anything either, which is weird. Patty's amazing, but Nazario's NHC literally showing a major hurricane near Jamaica. Pen malfunction. Yeah, I don't know why Dark Earth it does that sometimes. I think maybe it's the mouse. Every now and again, all of a sudden, I'll try to draw something. All right, guys, let's go ahead and fixate on this. And I don't mean to use that much emphasis. It just kind of pops up like that. Along with Idalia's relatively low death toll might make it not retired. They're not retiring Idalia, which makes no sense. Imelda should have been retired. Fumchum, it probably will because of its landfall. We'll have to see. But all right, guys, we're going to go ahead and call it. If there's any further questions, please blast them in the chat. Relevant questions, please. And if not, we'll go ahead and reconvene once again. Just a disclaimer, David definitely is great at what he does, but has never claimed to be official, much less NHC, just to avoid confusion. Yeah, absolutely. I make sure to mention that I'm not an official source, and I'm not trying to override official sources. I just try to make sense of the official sources sometimes. All right, Willow, I know I'm coming. I don't mean to leave you. Come here. Psst, psst. Are you really hungry? Yeah, I can tell you are. It's after 9 o'clock. What's my favorite Halloween movie? Take a wild guess. That's all I'm going to say. Just take a wild guess. Will it rain in Orlando? We got a lot of rain today, as a matter of fact. I'm surprised if you didn't get any rain up there in Orlando. We lost power down here a few times because of how bad the thunderstorm activity was. And it's only going to get worse throughout the week. Because of that system down there, regardless of what it does, we're going to definitely see, increased thunderstorm activity. That's for sure. Chance NHC. I mean, there's a small chance. I had mentioned earlier in my earlier live stream that I would mark it right now. The fact that we have a tropical wave that they have analyzed on their surface chart, and it's popping off, and it's popping off the way that it is, I'd highlight for. I mean, if they put a 10% chance on a cold core system, you can put a 10% chance out there on this thing. At least that's what I would think. If it can't form, we'll just see storms if it moves this way. Yeah, that's if it moves that way. I mean, no matter what, we're going to see that influx of moisture from the south. You can see it over Cuba and the Florida Keys right now, and the Bahamas is seeing some of it as well. Even if it tracks west, we'll see a little bit of a surge to the north. So regardless, we're going to see a little bit of stuff from it. I can see a shirt with Hurricane Charlotte that says, I'm still hyped after 20. I like that a lot, actually, Isaac. I think I need to do that. Wait, rain is coming. Wow, look at radar. Nighttime storms are developing. Yeah, definitely. You can see it on satellite even. There's still some nocturnal stuff firing off, even off the coastline. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. Time will tell. But alrighty, folks. Nazari, do you think South Florida will get a hurricane? I want one, please. Hope for one for me. I'm not going to do that on stream. I will get crucified if I put that blasphemy out in the air. All I'm saying is Lee broke a record to be first to get Cat 5. It really didn't break a record. It just kind of won the race in terms of most intense storm this year. That's for sure. It blew up in 12 hours, which is pretty impressive. But all right, guys, we're going to start getting off. It's 9:21. Willow is going to be pissed at me if I don't feed her. So we'll call it a night. We'll see you back here 8 p.m. on Wednesday, unless, God forbid, something really fires up over the next 48 hours. If not, then, welp, we will see you on Wednesday. Tomorrow there will be another iteration of Weather Center Nazario. I might do it very bare bones like I did today. And there's our National Weather Service radar for those of you wondering, because I see people asking. But that just about wraps it up, guys. Today's key takeaway was I just wanted to put a little more emphasis on what's happening in the Caribbean, because everyone was still picking and pulling at what NHC has highlighted, and I think it's because people were a little afraid to, venture off and do their own thing. And sometimes that's what separates the good meteorologists from the great ones, is when you're not afraid to go against the grain and say your own opinion, even if it means you're going to get, blown up for it. Do you think we're going to have a hurricane? I don't know. I'm going to leave you with that. I don't know. Shane Castle, we'll see you then 8 p.m., sir. Thank you very much for joining in, Mr. Castle. I genuinely mean that. It means a tremendous amount to see you in there. And I say that with every level of sincerity. Not joking or trying to hype up. It really means a lot. I definitely miss our collaborations and our synoptic analysis chats and whatnot. But yeah, guys, we'll see. We'll have to see. We'll have to just wait and see. That's the bottom line. We're in a holding pattern once again. But thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you on Wednesday for our next iteration of Tropics Talk. Lord willing, nothing pops up. And we'll see you tomorrow for a full Weather Center Nazario segment at around 6 o'clock p.m. in the afternoon, early evening time. But until then, guys, this is Weather Center Nazario signing out.